I declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service and to the service of our great imperial family to which we all belong.
In the early light of this proud morning, when London and the world prepare for the Queen's crowning at Westminster, a man of many memories thinks back over many royal occasions. Intimate and happy occasions, these. For he who remembers them is Marcus Adams, royal photographer. He possesses many reminders to aid his recollections. A child remembered in a photograph. Trinkets and bells that made a princess laugh. A smiling princess coaxed to play with toys his memory enjoys. A pleasant memory of a simple scene. Then trinkets, now regalia, now Elizabeth is queen. Windsor, royal Windsor. To the little princess, this was home. And still to the Queen, this is the best loved of her home. Windsor Forest, the evergreen background of happy youth. Windsor Forest, where our Queen first learned to ride. Windsor Forest, where our Queen still rides, and where her children in their turn are finding happiness, favorite places, the peace that will always linger in their minds. A traditional countryside, but a countryside that is home. When Elizabeth was 11, her father planted oaks at Windsor to commemorate another coronation day. Now the young Queen will continue the tradition. And the sweet Thames, before it flows to the Abbey Church of Westminster, visits the great castle upon a hill, that proud home of monarchy. Windsor, so proud, so bold, and so serene. And in this royal domain, long may she reign. Elizabeth is queen. He and his camera recall them as they grew, as the child grew to womanhood. With the years of childhood passed the trinkets and the toys of childhood. There remain the memories and the reminders. The doll that made the princess smile is laid aside a little while, but lives to coax new happiness for a child prince and another princess. A royal line, a family likeness. The House of Windsor. In this royal academy, the line we have honored and loved. Those who brought new meaning to the age-old theme of throne and people. Those who served the people, whom the people were happy to serve. And now, as London and the world prepares, Elizabeth is queen. London prepares, for this is London's day. London on holiday and proud. The happy heartbeat of the Cockney crowd. London is royal and gay. In the early light of this proud morning, London prepares. New Elizabethan London. London young again and gaily dressed. Shakespeare's man in the street. The eternal Cockneys. The Pearlies with their donkey shade trotting from Queen Victoria's time into our own. In the early light of this proud morning, the troops of the Royal House of Windsor prepare for their service at Her Majesty's crowning. The Guards, whose name and fame has spread wherever British arms have been carried to the four corners of the earth. The Queen's Company of Grenadiers, a company renowned in battle, a company unmatched in ceremonial. They move with ease and grace as the great moment of the crowning nears, for theirs is justly pride of place in all our hearts, the British Grenadiers. The horses and men who serve Her Majesty, the horses of an older chivalry, riders who may well go into battle on wheels, but who maintain all the perfections of ceremonial horsemanship. The drum major, whose tattoo will mingle with the throb of London's cheers. Here in the early light of this proud morning, men and horses trained and groomed for this great parade. Bearing together the crests of the new reign, men and horses are as one. The household cavalry prepare. Never will their breastplates shine more proudly. The state trumpeters who are to ride with the Queen. Their duty and privilege to let the trumpet sound on this great day. The swords of chivalry. The drums that rouse the heart. Trumpets that herald queenly majesty. Helmets and plumes of military art. The grace and beauty of horsemanship. What more fitting escort for Her Majesty at her crowning? Behind the grandeur of Buckingham Palace lies this royal mews, the plain undecorated coach house and stables which serve the royal needs. Here since the small hours they have been preparing calmly and without bustle the horses and ceremonial coaches that all the world is waiting to see. Traditional figures like the royal coachman, to whom harness and horseflesh are second nature. The Irish state coach, first used by Queen Victoria, now to be the state coach of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother. The state coach of Her Majesty the Queen. The three figures on the roof standing for the genii of England, Scotland and Ireland, supporting the imperial crown. The famous emblematic carving and painting done by Cipriani nearly 200 years ago. The liveried postilions, men of great skill gained by long years of royal service. The 8 walking grooms who accompany the gold state coach. Their duty it is to walk one at each side of the Windsor greys with their crook walking sticks to keep the traces clear on the turns. So they all go forth in this proud morning to wait upon their sovereign, while in the four corners of the earth her subjects and her friends prepare to acclaim, Elizabeth is Queen. Years ago, a little girl who called herself Lilibet wrote her own account of Coronation morning. At 5 o'clock in the morning, I was awakened by a band, she wrote. I leapt out of bed. We put on dressing gowns. We crouched in the window, looking out on the cold, misty morning. Today, the writer of these lines is about to come forth from Buckingham Palace, a young mother and a reigning queen. Queen Elizabeth going forth to her crowning, wearing a diadem and her traditional parliamentary robe of velvet, furred with ermine. Trafalgar Square, with its crowds who have waited all night to greet Her Majesty. Here now is the carriage of Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, and with her the Princess Margaret. hour of 11 is approaching. Not only in London, but in every corner of the world, the prayers and thoughts of the people center upon this young, queenly figure. This gracious lady, upon whom such great burdens of responsibility are to rest, and who bears them with such royal grace. The Queen. The Earl Marshal, the Duke of Norfolk, awaits her as she enters this great Abbey church, this house of God founded by the side of the Thames at Westminster.
I here present unto you Queen Elizabeth, your undoubted Queen. Wherefore all you who are come this day to do your homage and service, are you willing to do the same? Sirs, I here present unto you Queen Elizabeth, your undoubted Queen. Wherefore all you who are come this day to do your homage and service, are you willing to do the same? Will you solemnly promise and swear to govern the peoples of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the Union of South Africa, Pakistan, and Ceylon, and of your possessions and the other territories to any of them belonging or pertaining, according to their respective laws and customs?
I solemnly promise so to do.
The presenting of the Holy Bible by the moderator of the General Assembly of the Church of Scotland. Thence goes Queen Elizabeth to sit in King Edward's chair for the most sacred rite of her anointing. Her Majesty being now anointed, wearing the colobium sindonis and the supertunica or close pall of cloth of gold, together with a girdle of the same, is seated once more in King Edward's chair.
Receive this imperial robe, and the Lord your God endue you with knowledge and wisdom, with majesty and with power from on high. The Lord clothe you with the robe of righteousness and with the garments of salvation.
Then shall the orb with the cross be brought from the altar by the Dean of Westminster and delivered into the Queen's right hand by the Archbishop.
receive the royal scepter, the ensign of kingly power and justice. Receive the rod of equity and mercy. Be so merciful that you be not too remiss. So execute justice that you forget not mercy. O God, the crown of the faithful, bless, we beseech thee, this crown, and so sanctify thy servant Elizabeth, upon whose head this day thou dost place it for a sign of royal majesty.
Then shall the Queen go to her throne, and be lifted up into it by the archbishops and bishops, and other peers of the kingdom.
I, Geoffrey, Archbishop of Canterbury, will be faithful and true, and faith and truth will bear unto you, our sovereign lady, queen of this realm, and defender of the faith, and unto your heirs and successors according to law. So help me God.
I, Philip, will become your liege man of life and limb, and of earthly worship. In faith and truth I will bear unto you, to live and die against all manner of folk, so help me God.
Now Queen Elizabeth, crowned and anointed, goes to receive communion. The Queen enters into St. Edward's Chapel for the recess. Into the crowd. Our love will shield you. Our voices cheer you. Our prayers uphold you. Our hearts be with you. These are the simple words of an ordinary woman in the crowd as Queen Elizabeth, arrayed in her robe of purple velvet, wearing the imperial crown and carrying the scepter and the orb, begins her stately progress home to Buckingham Palace. Their spirits undampened, the hundreds of thousands who have defied the elements for hours still roar their welcome to Her Majesty. Canada sent 786 officers and men in uniform, including the inevitable favorite with the crowds, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. 4 of the Mounties also provided an escort for the Canadian Prime Minister. there was a picturesque procession of the colonial rulers, and high among them in public popularity was Her Majesty the Queen of Tonga. So Queen Elizabeth, in state and splendor, is escorted to her home. Londoners and people who have traveled thousands of miles to see her go by mingle in the crowds who have waited in unkind weather to cheer. Many there are who will speak with pride to their children and grandchildren in the years to come, telling how they saw Queen Elizabeth at her coronation, living again the memory in their hearts. with full hearts we salute this young, gracious lady upon whom the royal obligation rests, as she comes forth now upon the balcony of Buckingham Palace, before which, by tradition, the people come together to express their feelings. But deepest of all, the picture in our memories will be of the regal young queen, radiant and resplendent, the very spirit of the new age in this ancient abbey. For her, for us, the future beckons. Elizabeth is queen. Long may she reign.